Gotta
Crack open a cold one.
crack open the podcast iron brew.
Cold iron brew so I can burp my whole way through.
It looks like a weird lump on my head there.
Yeah. So what happens when you get to our age?
Lumps and bumps
Strange lumps start appearing. Welcome back to the Old Man Media podcast with your hosts
Will Rag
and me, Paul Buchanan. We're continuing on our series on Jonathan Richman.
Cool. Remind me what we are in this story.
So, we ended on the disbanding of the Modern Lovers.
Right.
They recorded their set of recordings with John Cale and then a few at Sunset Studios, I believe, with their other record label, A&M. And Gold Star Studios was a studio. And yeah, they currently, all the Modern Lovers moved back to Boston, apart from Jonathan, who stayed behind for a bit. But Jonathan found that the disbanding of the Modern Lovers only further solidified his new sort of musical path, and it just gave him a greater vision, more relaxation, more personal freedom, and a new way of seeing the world. Rather than his sort of bitter, youthful, critical lens, I think he was starting to open himself up to a sort of more wholesome vibe and maybe less preachy about, rather than chastising people for being the way they are. He was just happy to be the way he is, I guess.
Ensuring.
He was unrestricted by other band members or any record pressure, so he could just make whatever music he wanted. He didn't have to worry about commercial success. So he stayed in LA for a bit, and then we returned to Boston to stay on John Felice's floor.
Oh, yeah.
John Felice said that he returned full of joy, almost reborn. In February 1974, Steve Sesnick, who used to be the Velvet Underground manager, arranged a recording session with the drummer Mo Tucker for them to record in a studio in Boston's music designers. Willie Alexander and Walter Powers, who briefly joined Mo in the post-Lou Reed Velvet Underground, guitarist George Nando and drummer Jim Wilkins, they recorded a version of I'm Sticking With You. The Velvet's version wouldn't release for another 10 years or so. It's an interesting recording. What did you think of it?
Yeah, it was cool. I quite liked it.
I wasn't sure how it would come in because I read it in the book that I'm reading. There's something about Jonathan I read that Jonathan sung on it, and I thought maybe it was going to be a double vocal, but it's like kind of cool in response. He's like, all right, far out. It was in the rain. Just like sort of little ad-libby bits.
Can you remind me what year that was recorded?
74.
74. Cool. Yeah.
And as I don't know, compared to the version I'm familiar with from the Velvet Underground, I think it's the VU release, which is like a compilation of unreleased stuff. It's kind of, I don't know, something more baroque about this version. But like I really like his backing vocals on the chorus as well. I don't really like that cheesy piano roll that goes into the song. It's like, and then you're just like, there's no need for that. So the song doesn't really require that.
It sounds a bit different than anything else like that's on the other album I listened to.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, I mean it's a Velvet Underground cover essentially.
Yeah, true.
But Sesnick arranged a coinciding concert for the recording's release, and Mo attended, but she did not play. Only Jonathan played, and she remembers him beating on the stage with newspapers. Part of this new musical direction that Jonathan was headed in. So he continued to play at elementary schools and hospitals, continuing that tradition that was going to inform most of his musical development. So the newspaper rolls he would actually hand out to audience members. When he was in California staying behind, he would go out and play to disadvantaged children. And Phil Kaufman said that he remembered Jonathan and I would go out on weekends to hospitals for mentally handicapped children. I'd be carrying the amp and he'd set up. He'd really be able to communicate with them. He didn't see the disability and they loved him. It's a really unique gift that he has. So I guess the newspaper rolls were a very easy, low kind of barrier to entry way to get audience members, especially, if there was sort of disadvantaged children, to get involved with the music and feel the music. And, a lot of the times, apparently, Jonathan would get through to a lot of these audience members.
But when you say newspaper rolls, what do you mean? Just like literally rolled up newspapers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, and they just would beat the floor with it.
Yeah,
wow.
I guess they have quite a crack to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the music business represented greed, drugs, and negativity to Jonathan, and his patience with the average rock and roll audience was thinning. He wanted to find those open to his newfound positive outlooks on life, and though he still played a few live band shows in like colleges and other sort of concert halls, most of his new audiences in the unconventional spaces would see Jonathan play far more than a traditional audience. So yeah, in Boston, he was sleeping on John Felice's floor, and he noticed a real excitement about the new material he'd been writing. And then the end of 1974, Matthew Kaufman, who was one of the label execs in the previous episode, who he noticed the sort of divide in the Modern Lovers, and he took John aside and was like, "Yeah, if you ever want to go solo, call me up." And,
related to Phil Kaufman, or is that just a coincidence?
Just a coincidence,
oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he had actually gone off to start a new record label called Berserkly Records, and he wanted Jonathan to sign to Berserkly Records, and he wanted him to appear on a compilation album that would basically be the first release. Jonathan, after his hiatus, was quite revitalised and energised, and he was ready for the new challenge, so he headed on a train from the East Coast to the West to find his new home, sleeping on the sofa at Berserkly Records, which I believe was in San Francisco.
Cool.
Yeah. One of the strangest developments of Jonathan's career, he met up with some fellow expats from Boston. They shared a love with Jonathan's early rock and roll and the Velvet Underground scene, and they were working on material arguably as far removed from the current rock scene as Jonathan was. They were playing clubs like the Whiskey Go-Go. And although their visions would go on to differ greatly, common ground was shared enough for Jonathan to be invited to an audition night at Fillmore West, where he would find himself as the first ever drummer for the Patti Smith group.
Is this going to be like another Forrest Gump type thing?
It is pretty much. But there were 3 keys before he entered the scene: keys, guitar, and Patti, obviously. And the guitarist Lenny Kaye recalls, "We were a pretty bizarre band, and Jonathan lent an air of more eccentricity to the proceedings. It was a pretty odd occurrence. There weren't a lot of people around. We were really just getting going. I couldn't get my guitar in tune. Of course, playing the Fillmore was a bit special. Jonathan would just kind of bang along." In the years since this live performance, Lenny would often hail Jonathan's work and would always make an effort to go see him in New York. He particularly enjoyed his ability to reinvent a sense of wonder for you.
Wow. So where is the Fillmore West? Because the Fillmore East is in New York. Is it in San Francisco as well? I feel like, wasn't that one set up afterwards as like...
Fillmore West in San Francisco, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. Just had to double check that because I knew he was in San Francisco,
Yeah.
but who knows, he might have gone on a little trip.
Whiskey A Go-Go also in San Francisco?
I believe so. It's a venue I've heard.
I've heard it
I know
mentioned.
it's in LA actually. I think that might be more West Hollywood.
Oh, right.
Because I know Elliott Smith played there.
Yeah, that's a famous venue, I think.
So yeah, in March 1975, in between recordings for this upcoming compilation album for Berserkly, and that album is called Berserkly Chartbusters Volume 1, Jonathan went up to New York for his first non-Modern Lovers show there. He played 4 nights in a row, the 19th to the 22nd, at this place called The Kitchen, 59 Worcester Street. Friends accompanied him for songs, including Andy Paley and his brother Jonathan, and saw the return of Ernie Brooks, the bass player.
Ah.
My man Ernie, we love you.
Yeah.
The gigs were all acoustic, featured a mix of old and new material, backed mainly by guitar, bass, and percussion, and some viola. And he debuted this new song, New Teller, which would appear on the Berserkly compilation. As well as Roadrunner, he played Here We Are in Dreamland. So a couple of the Modern Lovers tracks that he was playing with the band before they disbanded. This time around, though, the lyrics and vocal performance far overshadowed the backing of the music. After the show's finished, Ernie Brooks no longer felt a part of what Jonathan was doing. He said, didn't feel quite right because I wasn't really playing my proper instrument. I felt like someone who stayed too long at the party. I suppose I didn't feel like I was adding much. It's funny, I have an acoustic bass now. Maybe it's a sense of maturity, or, I guess, over time, people's views change. You might be really into punk or hard rock and as you get older. But at the time, he obviously wasn't feeling the direction that Jonathan was going in. I can see when it's like you're just kind of the additional, instead of being a band, you're just the additional side guy now, and you're the only remaining, it probably does feel a bit alienating. So Gerard Malanga, Andy Warhol's right-hand man.
Oh, yeah.
He was there on the first night and he took photographs, but after extensive Googling, I couldn't find anything, I couldn't pull anything
that's
up.
Annoying.
But yeah. So 4th of July, Jonathan's efforts would result in a culmination of the past, while signalling towards his new direction on the Berserkly Chartbusters album. He was backed by a band called the Rubinoos for Nutella and Government Center, and on this compilation album, the Rubinoos also had a selection of tracks of their own. They were also signed by the same record label, and another band called Earthquake, who accompanied him for the other 2 songs. What did you think? Did you listen to these tracks that were in the bonus tracks of the...
Yeah, those last 4 tracks in the album, really, really good.
The Nutella.
They're my favourite songs on the album, those last 4. Yeah, really
I think, listening to those, I was like, okay, it's gearing up now to the Jonathan Richman that I relate to the most, that I love. His music, his solo albums, his later stuff. It feels like he's really coming into his own with the sort of humour and in his songwriting. Like the Nutella is just about being in love with the teller at a bank, and he's like, well, everyone in the bank line knows, and it's just like funny little song about having a crush on the Nutella.
Yeah,
it's kind of 60s doo-wop sound, but it's sort of not in a way that's too dissimilar from like Velvet Underground.
Yeah,
where it's like it does hail back to that, but it's also like it's not just like I love you, doo ba doo ba doo. It's got its own thing,
Yeah, a lot of government and bureaucratic motifs on this. I mean, I can't. The
Government Center.
Yeah. There's one about the market as well, isn't there? Very.
Yeah. Is it?
I have got the song listings on Spotify though.
Oh, this is So this is. I'm just talking about the 4 tracks that were released for the Berserkly Chartbusters album, which they were later released as bonus tracks on the Jonathan Richman on the Modern Lovers. But yeah, there's the version of Roadrunner. It's just Roadrunner brackets once. It's pretty kind of lethargic, I found. It's got not got the organ.
No.
There's a chugging lead guitar, which I'm not a massive fan of, and you can kind of tell that Jonathan's bored with this song at this point. I wonder if it was just as a favour to Matthew, he was like, sure, I'll do Roadrunner for the album, so that people, because that's the sort of their biggest song on the word of mouth is like, oh, that Modern Lovers band with the Roadrunner song, I think,
they must have recorded that quite a few times.
Yeah, and I don't think anything really beats the John Cale version with the organ. I think Jerry Harrison, without the organ, that song is not nowhere near as good in my opinion. But there is a fun kind of breakdown in it where it's just the lead guitar is just kind of hitting a dead string, and the dynamics come down. That was a fun variation of the song, I guess. But yeah, funny enough, this is the version that would become a hit in the UK when it's re-released in 1977. The burping begins.
The gas begins.
United Artists redistributed Berserkly Records in the UK in 1977. So although none of the Modern Lovers actual studio stuff had been released, the classic Modern Lovers stuff, it had already made an impact on 3 notable people: Glenn Matlock, Steve Jones, and Paul Cook, who were shortly to meet John Lydon and become the Sex Pistols.
Oh, well.
So Nick Kent at the New Musical Express was a regular visitor to Let It Rock, which was Malcolm McLaren, the manager of Sex Pistols' shop on London King Road. And here he got to know the Sex Pistols. And he actually had a tape of the John Cale Modern Lovers session. And apparently he put it on for Matlock, Jones and Cook, and they'd admire its mixture of the weird and simple. And as Matlock put it, it was a breath of fresh air at a time where so-called symphonic rock was dominating the airwaves. Glenn said Jonathan was a major influence on the Sex Pistols, and John Lydon even went as far in an interview as to say that Roadrunner was his favourite song of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Wow.
I do wonder, because, you know,
I feel like John would have hated the Sex Pistols, no? You think?
Jonathan Richman might have hated the Sex Pistols,
Yeah.
but they really liked him.
Oh, wow.
It's funny how, I don't know, like, as an English person, I'm quite like Jonathan Richman, and I wonder what it is in his music that appeals to.
Yeah.
I wonder if it is because it is such a pastiche of American culture that, as an American, maybe you'd be a bit more like, well, yeah, I grew up with this. Whereas to me, it's a bit more magical, and I can see the same allure in the sort of the US landscapes, the cartoonish landscapes that Jonathan Richman paints. You know.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Very well said.
Rubinoos were invited to play Bill Graham's Winterland in San Francisco, which obviously we know from The Dead.
The Dead.
They opened for Link Ray, Jefferson Starship, as well as Earthquake, who also played. And during the Rubinoos set, Jonathan came on stage and danced while they did a cover of Archie's Sugar Sugar. You know Sugar Sugar?
No, I don't.
Honey, honey, yeah. Apparently, Jonathan was dancing on stage, and Greg Curley, his nickname was Kerenan, who was part of the Rubinoos, said Jonathan was just too clean cut for San Francisco hippie mentality. Yeah. And he said there was...
He must have been like a fish out of water in San Francisco in the 70s. Christ.
There was a predictably negative response from the crowd, but not so predictably, there was another half of the crowd who loved Jonathan's dancing. So, and he would guest appear at future Rubinoos show and play the Nutella, which was one of the songs that they recorded with him. And he had taken a walking around Berkeley with his guitar and playing and writing songs on the fly in like a busking fashion.
Oh wow!
Which is kind of what he was working towards in his new sort of musical philosophy.
Wow.
So June 1975, I'm going to take you down a little side road. Meanwhile, while Jonathan's on his little adventures in San Francisco, Talking Heads made their debut at the CBGBs in New York.
CBGBs?
You never heard of CBGBs?
No.
It's like the definitive punk venue in New York.
Oh, okay.
David Byrne himself references it in a song in Life During Wartime. He's like, this ain't no CBGBs.
Oh, okay. I didn't wonder what that line was actually.
Yeah, lots of up and coming bands played there, post punk bands and punk bands and whatnot. It's one of those venues that got a bit oversaturated by the end of it. Maybe became a bit of a pastiche of itself in the scene. But yeah, during their formative months, they would do a version of Pablo Picasso.
Oh yeah.
I actually found a recording of this from '76 at Max's Kansas City in New York. And it's exactly how you'd expect it to be. It's like if you took the song Pablo Picasso and then put it into the Talking Heads grinder, and it's like, you know, dun gung 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 gung. Wow. Well, Pablo Picasso has never called an asshole. You know, it's exactly. But it works really well, you know, and it's especially because it's that early on in there. They haven't released, this is 76, so 77 I believe the debut album was released, the Talking Heads.
Yeah, 77 was the name of the album.
So it's kind of got that, those driving rhythms and the styles, and interestingly I think that there can be a lot of similarities drawn between David Byrne and Jonathan Richman,
Yeah, for
lyrical themes of like automobiles, suburbia, buildings, the old world, modern world contradictions, as well as their unglamorous stage presence.
Yeah, and dancing, for
their plain clothes refusal to conform to styles of popular culture. And yeah, in April 76, they actually, so this is a couple months before that recording that I found, but in April 76, they recorded a tape for Berserkly Records, but this only resulted as a demo tape. And actually that May they invited Jonathan to play at CBGB's, but he had played there a year prior with Television, and he wasn't keen to repeat the experience, citing as a reason the refusal of the bar to let 13-year-olds on the premises. So he turned them down.
If you take that out of context,
that's what
Jonathan,
I mean. I tried to find more kind of research, but no further comments given on this, and I was like, take it as you will.
Yeah, I mean, if you know Jonathan, it's a little less weird, but that does sound. But yeah, the similarities between David Byrne and Jonathan Richman's Yeah, very. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, like very similar. Yeah. Is there any like interviews with David Byrne that you found like where he talks about Jonathan Richman, or is there?
No.
Might be interesting to see if he's ever mentioned that as like maybe an influence or something.
Yeah, I mean, as well, it's interesting to note that Jerry Harrison wasn't in the band at this point.
Right.
So shortly after they had invited Jonathan to play and he turned it down, Tina Weymouth and the drummer Chris France ran into Ernie in New York, and knowing who he was, they asked after the availability of Jerry Harrison. Jerry was considering giving up rock music entirely, but he went to see the Talking Heads and he liked their stuff, and then they had a rehearsal together, and the rest is history.
Wow, cool.
So yeah, there's obviously quite a clear love of the Modern Lovers there. I wonder how they found out about them. Where
that'd be interesting to know.
They hadn't. Maybe David Byrne was at a show. Maybe, but then to do a cover, you'd think they must have some sort of recording to learn the song from. So. So, early 1976, we're jumping around the timeline a bit, as I say. This is April 76. Or shortly after that is when Ernie Brooks joined the Talking Heads, probably towards the end of 76. But the early 1976, Jonathan was reforming a band.
Oh yeah.
David Robinson was drumming in LA for a band called The Pop. And he wanted a financially viable option to return to Boston. Berserkly tracked him down and offered to pay for his flight and an apartment in Boston. And Jonathan, unwilling to push his new vision too soon, said he wanted a proper rock and roll drummer for a 4-piece electric guitar-led band, which might have been a little bit of a white lie there just to get him down. Other members were Curly Karanen from the Rubinoos on the bass, who had grown a bit tired of the Rubinoos. And Jonathan said he needed a specifically acoustic bass player, which obviously, again, contrasts what he said to David there.
Yeah.
Guitarist Leroy Radcliffe, who replaced Todd Rundgren in Woody's Truck Stop, if you know that man.
No, I don't. I've heard it. Todd
Rundgren obviously produced a lot of records, produced the band, most notably, I think. Yeah,
he was on a great album with the band.
But yeah, he had taken some time away from music, this guitarist, after being in Woody's Truck Stop. But he informed a friend that he was thinking of getting back in the scene. And, a couple of days later, Jonathan rocks up at his door dressed in shorts and a t-shirt. And says he's come to check out his skills.
We could do like a coffee table book with just like Jonathan's outfits. I think that'd be...
It was more of a poem than an interview, Leroy said. And apparently...
What?
And apparently Jonathan said, "Strum along with me, friend, for 5 minutes."
So corny.
I love it though. Oh. Strum along with me, brother.
It's weird because in bits like that he does sound like a hippie. Like
I think there is. He's more hippie than a lot of. The issue is he has an actual viewpoint of worldview that's hippie, rather than being someone who just wants to dress, look cool, and do drugs.
For sure.
He's someone who actually believes in a better world or a better way of living. Which I think as well he brings out a lot of the kind of hypocritical kind of side of a lot of the counterculture, and that's probably another reason why people didn't like him, because you got hippies like booing this guy for just being authentic.
For sure. Preaching a different way of life that's still kind of...
It's the ironic thing about countercultures, even any kind of I call them like subculture. It's like, hey, we're gonna be different and stand out from the the norm by all dressing the same and being the same, and doing the same music and making the same art.
I don't know. I'm never been a huge fan of hippies. I don't know, a lot of them turned out to be pretty right wing as well. Like being very left wing. Not organisation, but like a movement in the late 60s, and a lot of them just turned out to be right wing anyway.
Like who? Name and shame.
I don't know. I can't think of names off the top of my head now. You put me on the spot. But I don't know. You hear a lot of stories just about, I mean, they were boomers, you know what I mean? Boomers are now synonymous with being, incredibly conservative.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all going to become right-wing eventually, I think.
Yeah.
It takes a bit of time. and just a bit of a love for military history. So after rehearsing in Boston for some months and playing a few gigs, the band moved to San Francisco to play shows and record an album, which again kind of contrasts David's plea to he wants to move a financially viable option to move to Boston, and then they're back in San Francisco to record the album. Maybe it's a temporary thing because this is where the record label was based. But they recorded at CBS Folsom Street, which is the same studio where they did the Chartbusters material and would be used for all his subsequent Berserkly material. The album sort of begins in a 50s, 60s fashion. I didn't even say the album we're talking about. Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers is the name. I'll flash up the picture on the screen. This is his first post-Modern Lovers release, and I guess his properly first release in this, in the world at the time, because most stuff was unreleased apart from that compilation album.
Oh, okay. So that album had been out. The Blue Heart one.
That came out in 75.
Yeah.
Oh no, the Blue Heart one, no.
Oh, okay, no.
I think the Blue Heart one came out in like 78.
Oh, okay.
Let me just double check myself right here. So August 1976, the Blue Heart, the Lost Recordings album was released by Warner Brothers. So this point is, I don't think it's been released yet. Jonathan, okay. Let's have a look at when Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers was released. July 76.
Oh, okay. Very close together then.
So it was literally 2 months after this release, Warner Brothers decided to release.
Yeah.
So the album begins in like a 50s and 60s sort of fashion. First song, Rockin' Shopping Centre.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, again, just like really, it does remind me of David Byrne. That kind of like, I don't know. It for David Byrne, I feel like it's slightly ironic, kind of hailing of capitalistic US culture.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. I really like that song.
Yeah, good little first introduction to Jonathan on the album there. Then the next song is Chuck Berry cover, Back in the USA.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
And I like the spoken word section at the beginning. I think it adds a lot of character. He's just like, oh, this one's a Chuck Berry song, and he kind of just breaks makes it a lot more personable, and I guess kind of brings you down. He's not trying to do this art rock album or art. He's not trying to be pretentious about it. He's just like, this is who I am. This is me.
Yeah, it's interesting, like how many like bands of that sort of like 60s and 70s love Chuck Berry. Like obviously the Beatles are big Chuck Berry fans as well, and there's a lot of people covered like The Promised Land and stuff like that. Yeah, really, really big.
I've never delved too deep into him. I just feel like I know there's like 10 songs that go and you're just like, mate,
start the same.
Just don't like blues. I mean, I do now and then, but I just don't want to listen to a whole album of blues. But maybe I need to.
He's got some really good. He has one album. I can't remember the name of it, but it's got "Oh Louisiana" on it. I think the name of the album is "Oh Louisiana," where it's like very kind of almost. I want to say a bit like, you could go in a bit kind of soul in a direction, and it's really, really good. That's very different from his other stuff.
I like the... It was a teenage wedding and the old folks wished him well.
It's the one on Pulp Fiction, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't never remember the name of that song.
You Never Can Tell.
Yeah, that's the one.
Important in Your Life, some like lovely little doo-woppy song. It's likely about Gail, that girl that he was pursuing, who ended up getting married, having a kid. He still believed they were going to be together. He was like, he just wants to know that he's important in her life.
Yeah.
Or he knows he's important in her life. New England, we spoke a bit about last episode. Been all around the world, but I love New England best. I might be prejudiced, but I love New England best. Give me an E, maestro. That's how it starts, and I'm like, yes, so fucking good. Like the charm, the funniness, the joy. It's like, maybe these are skills he's learned from performing to these children's and children hospitals and old folks' homes. But he's learned a little bit. There is a cheesiness to it, but it's like if you get on board and you get on his side, it's a good time.
Yeah, he's a performer as well. He's not just a musician.
I think he's trying to point out that it's like you shouldn't take yourself too seriously all the time. Lonely Financial Zone.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorites on the album, I think. I hear a bit of the Velvets on this one. You know, there's a unison guitar line, and the melody kind of reminds me of All Tomorrow's Parties off of the first Velvet Underground album. And the lyrics are quite funny, you know, finding like this abstract beauty in the capitalism of our modern world. Like, he acknowledges like the lonely world of ours. So he does like acknowledge that, you know, the world isn't perfect. And, you know, it talks about all like the tall buildings and walking by the river and stuff. But yeah, it's funny because like the electric guitar strums for most of the song, and then there's like one bit on the second verse I noticed where only the right speaker is audible on the guitar tracks, and it's just the acoustic guitar, and I'm like, it's like a little hint of the direction he would take, maybe, you know? Because I think there's a guitar the whole way through that's overdubbed with an electric guitar. Hi Dear is another song that's definitely about Gail.
Yeah.
He states that he knows that she likes him. It's like a really youthful, joyful song, and kind of like encapsulates that feeling of like finding out like your first crush likes you back or something, you know? It's kind of got that energy to it.
Yeah, very, yeah. I don't know what the word is, like, not ignorant, but like blissfully unaware of, like, you know, yeah, he's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he's got this kind of like, he's got this strive to just see the world in this childlike way of being naive almost.
Yeah, it's very, very endearing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not everyone has like the bravery to be like that, I think, in their adult life, but the next song, Abominable Snowman in the Market.
More bureaucratic kind of like.
Is it? Like, I don't even know. I think it's like a child's song. It's like a nursery rhyme.
Yeah,
I really don't like this song. I won't lie.
No, I didn't like it either.
It's like it's a bit too silly for me. Sort of means nothing to me. Yeah. But it, you know,
the name of the song.
Yeah, it's like fair enough. He's come up with something really weird here, and he's stuck to his guns. But I wouldn't find myself wanting to listen to it in my spare time. If that came on, in front of company, I'd be so embarrassed. But it's kind of the wonderful ability that Jonathan has to kind of, again, even in me, who I really like his music and I really like him, but I feel like even sometimes it triggers something on me. It's a bit uncomfortable. Uncomfortably earnest. But the next song is Hey There Little Insect, which we spoke about last episode when they did live, and the backing vocals that Ernie and Jerry had to do reluctantly, where it's like, you know, I quite enjoy the guitar on this track, to be fair, even though I'm not like massively, again, it's another sort of child's song, but I prefer this one a bit more than Abominable Snowman in the Market.
Yeah, for sure.
The zzz are a bit silly. Here Comes the Martians. I think out of all those sort of this kids song run on the album, this is probably the best.
Yeah, no, I really like this one.
Yeah.
Here Come the Martians.
Come the Martians. It's kind of like me. There's a bit where he says it's Martian time. He just says it's like a fucking meme, isn't it? He's like
pizza time.
But you can kind of hear some calypso influence coming in here as well. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Because yeah.
So Springtime on the album is probably my favourite one. It's like a real hint of where Jonathan will go later with, you know, just him and his acoustic guitar. It's like a love letter to like nature and the spring, the season of spring, and something like quite pure-hearted and romantic in it. And like that's like where he's sort of like being this waxing romantic. I really enjoy him. Just like, you know, it's like he was saying, what was it, the guitarist of Patti Smith was saying he sort of has this ability to make you see wonder in the world again, and I find these songs really often strike that essence of me of being like, you know, being able to see the beauty in you know, everyday life. And there's a lot of improvisation on the guitar as well, which he would later sort of really lean into on his acoustic guitar, and just like, you know, being sort of like just going off tangent a bit. And
that's interesting. I wouldn't take Jonathan as a guy that would want like improvisation. I thought, you know, you want like, you know, this is how it's played. Do you know what I mean? That's interesting.
No, he likes it if it's him doing it.
Did he improvise live as well, or was it all like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that kind of thing I was saying earlier with busking and sort of singing, and I feel like he would often live, make up different lyrics and sections to his songs, and I think even like it currently, like modern day, he just him and acoustic guitar, and sometimes has a drummer accompanying him, and he just like will make shit up on the fly, just for
Yeah,
fun.
it's cool. I love when people do that.
Yeah. The album ends with an Amazing Grace cover, which, as I was seeing the track listing, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
But it's actually got quite a good charm to it. I think it's kind of got that whimsical acoustic fashion, which you pursue later on. And, it's kind of made me sort of revisit that song. I thought it was just a kind of hymn. But, it's kind of about I don't know if he changed the lyrics or not, but he talks about the grace that comes from within and kind of shows that worldview that Jonathan had of like internal happiness and joy.
Yeah. I've always quite liked watching people perform Amazing Grace. Like the kind of unity that comes with it. It's often performed in groups, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's sort of together. So I think you can see why that would appeal to Jonathan.
Yeah. But the overall point of this album was to shake off any fans of the old material or convert them and guide them down the new road he was taking. Leroy, the guitarist, said he really wanted to make a point to the media and to old fans that he was not going to go down the road of what he thought at the time was influencing young people in the wrong direction. His philosophy was that the old crowd wouldn't understand for a long time till maybe they got older, and what they had actually seen years before, which is probably true. In fact, I know it's true.
Do you think? Sorry, I can't remember the lady that overdosed. What was her name?
Miss Christie or something.
Because you said that Jonathan, like, that was kind of a turning point for Jonathan. Do you think changing his music was partly due to that as well?
Maybe, yeah.
And he wanted.
I think he was always headed in this direction.
Oh,
I think
so?
I think maybe he saw that he could be himself in a rock and roll band, and he loved the Velvet Underground. And as it got further along, and the Velvet Underground themselves were no stranger to that lifestyle. So I think he just realised he was an outlier, and while he loved the music of the Velvet Underground, he's kind of got this contradiction of being in the scene that encourages this lifestyle. But I think at this point in his career, he's like, right, how do I do this in my own way? How do I carve my own path that isn't, through this, all this, negative stuff that he doesn't believe in. The album received a rather mixed reception. Giovanni wrote for Zigzag Sounds, The Face, and Music News, so he was like a music journalist, and he hailed the album as a work of genius. Over in the UK, the Sex Pistols were well underway with a bitterness and cynicism that wouldn't really have a place in any of Jonathan's even earlier material, but Glenn Matlock remembers them having a favourable reaction to the album. Apparently him and Malcolm McLaren brought it and took it home, and they both sort of laughed, and Malcolm said, well, it's not really rock and roll, is it?
Yeah, no shit.
And Glenn said, well, no, it ain't, but I quite like it. Perhaps it's not supposed to be rock and roll. So quite astute, quite well. So the new iteration of The Modern Lovers was well underway now, and despite having an album to promote the band, they did very little live work, and they returned to Boston. Jonathan believed the next iteration of the band was to require a collective consciousness of the sort, and he arranged musical exercises for everyone to do. David Robinson's included taking away his drum kit and substituting it for thigh slapping and hand clapping. He was not happy. The rest of the band seemed to see Jonathan as a visionary for his new philosophy and were happy to follow him down the quieter road he was taking.
Sounds like he's going to become a cult leader or something.
Yeah, it does have that vibe. Jonathan found it important for them to also take up fitness routines, and Curly was a yoga practitioner, and so he didn't mind it. And Leroy enjoyed his change in lifestyle, but to David it seemed like being in Marine boot camp or a religious cult. But he said the band were preparing themselves ninja-like.
Oh, God.
So over time, in rehearsals, Jonathan removed a piece of David's drum kit one by one. Until eventually David... And the reasoning for this was so that David would always be able to hear his voice. And David felt his self-expression was being squashed. Eventually, all that was left was a small tom-tom, and then even then, Jonathan was like, can you put a towel over that? And then after he requested that, he asked if he could tap on the side of the drum, because even then it was too loud. So David quit the band in the summer of 76.
Yeah, I can see why.
But yeah, he quit the band and joined a punk outfit named DMZ. From there, he moved on to international success and acclaim for his powerful and intelligent percussion work in the Cars.
Oh.
Never listened to these bands, but I have heard the names. So.
I've heard the name of the Cars, yeah, but I've never...
The owner of the basement that the band rehearsed in was actually a drummer, and he was known as D Sharp. He made a special kit. One of the drums was made from zebra skin and another from hubcaps. And
zebra skin?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he reproduced the authentic sounds of a drum kit, but at a much lower volume. And he also had a broken arm, which meant he couldn't play the drums too loud, but... Despite this, he never missed a beat.
D Sharp. His name is D Sharp. He's got a broken arm and he's a drum.
He's got zebra skin drums and hubcaps. Kind of the wacky sort of guy that I think Jonathan needs on his side.
That's exactly Jonathan's kind of guy.
Yeah, it's I guess the drummer of was it Def Leppard only had one arm.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
So the new ensemble took to playing children's hospitals and old people's homes. So their plan was to practice winning over these audiences with their joy before taking their songs to a rock and roll audience in rock and roll venues. So I guess this is kind of like Jonathan's philosophy, and maybe this is part of his boot camp training. He's like, I'm going to make these guys do what I did because this is what got me to where I am today. Yeah, but you know, he's a notoriously difficult guy to work with.
He's not really doing himself any favours, like taking away the drummer's drum kit.
In September, the band returned to CBS Folsom Street to begin sessions for Rock and Roll with the Modern Lovers. Jonathan had this crazy idea about recording it all in the toilet at the studios.
He's always coming up with some shit, this guy, isn't he?
However, the sound wasn't what he'd hoped for, and the urinal provided strange reflections.
What? What do you mean by that?
You know, sound reflections.
Oh,
echoes.
I see, right.
Yeah,
I thought you meant like they were staring into it.
He decided to work in what had been the perfect place all along, the old echo chamber that had lain unused in the studio for years. So the key for this recording process would be mic placement, and although they had a 24-track, apart from one mic per band member, the rest of the channels lay mostly unused. A week had been spent making no progress at all, but after this setup, they completed the album in half that time. October 9th, they played the Town Hall venue in New York to a sold-out crowd. It was to be the test for the band's new direction, and Jonathan wanted a loud sound at a low volume. With some creative piggybacking, this was achieved, but I tried to figure out what they did and what this meant with the creative piggybacking, but yeah, there wasn't really much information on this.
Oh, right.
Maybe, you know, keeping it under lock and key, the secrets of a low-volume rock band.
The secrets of the sounds.
So after the audience were treated to a magician and then a juggler, they were told that they needed to entice Jonathan onto the stage, so they called his name. He arrived on the stage wearing a University of Santa Clara t-shirts, jean shorts, knee-high socks, and running shoes. And I had to Google this, and I managed to find one photo.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna show that one as well.
Yeah, definitely.
God, that is a look.
Yeah,
they are high. They're not just shorts; they're like short shorts as well.
And you can see there the bass player's got, you know, double bass. I guess that's what's his name, Curly. And then the guitarist looks pretty cool, to be fair.
Yeah,
and got this kind of like a Gerard Depardieu haircut.
Just imagining shouting Jonathan, Jonathan, and that's the
Yeah, the set list was a mix of old and new. One song, Rockin' Leprechauns, even had a sax solo from Jonathan.
God, is there anything this guy can't do? I didn't know he could play the sax.
Well, do you remember we in the first episode when we talked about his upbringing, he played the saxophone first in band before moving to the guitar.
Yes, okay, I do remember.
He met a few hecklers with the same approach he always did, some by ignoring them, some by answering them straight up, and others had their complaints humorously thrown out of court. So someone asked for the volume to be turned up, to which Jonathan would simply reply, no. The first phase of New Modern Lovers was going down a storm, though, and by and large, the audience's willingness to suspend its disbelief and follow Jonathan wherever he was going was well underway. Some critics would miss the point. Although melody makers Richard Williams, who was also an Velvet Underground fan, fell in love and implored someone to bring the Modern Lovers over to Britain quickly. Wow. In 1977, Jonathan would finally achieve the success he wanted, but on his own terms. Roadrunner was re-released in Britain and gradually received more and more recognition, radio play, and positive reviews, and it became a top 20 hit, climbing to number 12. On the hype of this, they released Rock and Roll The Modern Lovers, the album they recorded in that echo chamber, and they embarked on Jonathan's first ever European tour.
Wow.
I'm going to leave it here for today.
God, yeah, big steps for Jonathan.
But why do the British love Jonathan so much?
I didn't know he did.
Well, it's his first European tour.
Yeah.
First,
Do you know where he went? Like what countries he went to?
I guess we'll find out next episode.
Is that? What a cliffhanger.
I think we'll start next episode going over Rock and Roll The Modern Lovers.
Cool.
Which is a fantastic album, actually. I think it's builds on what he was doing in the last album, but I think, yeah.
Yeah, I've not heard that one yet. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see you next week.
Oh, yeah. Next week.